Hey guys, it's time to talk about everybody's favorite topic right now, Russians. I don't know, man, Russians seem to be all over the news and the media, so I thought it would be pretty fun if I shared about the experience that I had with a Russian woman recently in my life on one of the trips that I made out to Lisbon, Portugal. Now, for anybody who knows, when I make a trip out somewhere, I try to find somebody who's local, either in the same country or at best the same city that I'm going to be visiting. You know, these people serve as the best tour guides. They know the best locations for food and drink and entertainment. They're also very helpful in allowing you to avoid a lot of the tourist traps. So when I was planning this trip out to Portugal, somehow I got in contact with this girl that lived in Russia. Let's call her Amanda. And for whatever reason, you know, we got to talking, and she's had a lot of experience traveling throughout Europe, and you know, my experience is, you know, on par, you know, subpar at best. So over the course of a couple Skype conversations, we decided that we were going to both fly out to the old city of Lisbon for 5 nights and 4 days. Now, all of my friends gave me every cliched warning about going to a strange country with an unknown Russian. And I assured them that, first of all, yes, I got the girl on Skype, and as you know, she was definitely a woman. I wasn't being catfished. But apart from that, all of the mafia talk and the KGB jokes about, you know, that she's gonna gut me in the night and sell my organs on the black market, despite all of that, I decided, you know, I'm gonna make the trip out nonetheless. So we flew in pretty late. She got in about 10 p.m. I got in at 11. And she was waiting for me by this coffee shop that had long since closed. And I remember walking up to her, and anybody remember that meme of the guy in the middle of the theater and he's just being absolutely blown away by the experience of, I guess, the music and the grandeur? That's a little bit about how I felt encountering Amanda for the first time. In the words of my Italian friends, perfection. She was absolutely beautiful. She had these amazingly deep blue eyes and, you know, long blonde hair. And she was wearing those crazy Russian boots, you know, the type that, you know, makes her a little taller than me, which is something that I like. And it was a great encounter. Of course, all of this was expressed on the inside. You know, I was playing it cool. So we joined the queue for the taxi, and we went off to this fantastic AirBnB that we had booked. Anybody who's interested, I will actually put the link below. The place was really clean and really good. They were very accommodating. So let me say a few things about Lisbon, and then share just a couple of personal experiences about this trip. First of all, the food in Lisbon was amazing. And let me say one thing about Amanda. That girl could eat. Oh my goodness. If you give that girl seafood, she was just gonna park herself there and devour everything. But I mean, we had different experiences, from Italian to local cuisines, even a couple special delicacies. I mean, the food was just out of this world. And if we weren't finding ourselves in some kind of restaurant enjoying the local cuisine, the sights in Lisbon were also amazing. Thankfully, the bus system as well as the metro were very efficient. We got around with, you know, no problems, and we got to see many of the iconic landmarks. Even though some of them were closed or under renovation, we still managed to get out there and get some photographs and pictures and stuff like that. It was really, really historic, and anybody who knows me, I love that kind of thing. I love the old buildings and the history, just the richness of that culture. And the third thing is the shopping in Lisbon was also phenomenal. The prices were amazing, and if we weren't in the restaurants enjoying a cuisine or out sightseeing, you could be pretty sure we were out there in some of the malls and the boutique places, you know, just getting these amazing prices for clothes. Now, I gotta admit that Amanda did a lot better than me. She managed to get, you know, her handful of clothing and a couple jackets and other things. For me, not so much. You know, it just seems that men in Portugal seem to be, you know, bordering on anorexia. And me, for a guy that's a little bit bigger, they didn't have a lot of things in my size. However, I did get this jacket as well as a couple other items that were really, really well priced, very, very reasonable, and we enjoyed that tremendously. Now, with that said, I just want to share a couple of experiences that we did have out there that, you know, just made the whole thing very memorable. The first day we were there, Amanda got up very early. You know, she wanted to spend the 2 hours getting herself ready before we went out. I decided to duck out for a moment and go to the next door grocery just to buy some fruit and some croissant, a couple other things for the apartment. And coming back, I had a problem actually getting into the building because the key that I had didn't seem to work on the outside lock. Now I struggled with that for a while, and then somebody else who was coming out of the building managed to open the door for me, and I managed to get in. But then I had the same problem getting into the very apartment that I just left, because for whatever reason the key, wasn't working. It just wasn't turning the lock. So I got actually locked out of the apartment for close to 2 hours. We called the apartment manager, and she rushed over very quickly. She managed to call a locksmith, and he was on his way, and she left. But in fact, the beginning of our trip did start with that experience of me being locked out of the apartment, and I was talking to Amanda as she was getting ready on the door. She did have a spare key, but I just felt that I didn't want her to throw it out the window to me or anything like that, just in case that didn't work and then she had no way to leave and I had no other way to get in. So we just left it at that for the time being. That was the only problem we had. Eventually the locksmith showed up. He solved the issue with the door and never had the problem again, and I got into the apartment, we dressed ourselves, and we eventually went out for the rest of the evening. The second great experience I had out there was my first Uber trip. And we had just finished this amazing meal. Amanda had knocked back an entire plate of crustaceans, and we decided we wanted to go shopping. So she calls up an Uber on her phone, and it was my first Uber experience. Now some of you might be saying, well, that's not really anything special, Uber has become quite a thing, and that's true. But I was just in absolute awe driving through the city. I was a complete tourist, probably a complete jackass to her, looking at all the sights and at the buildings, and I was just commenting on everything, even down to the music the guy was playing in the car. But what makes the first time so memorable for me is as I was getting out of the car, I'm saying goodbye to the driver. I can't remember his name at this point, and as I am turned to get out of the car, I actually busted my nose hitting the door on the way out. And as we got into the shopping center, the first place I had to go was to get a band-aid to put over my nose, because it was bleeding and it was pretty bad, and I didn't want to mess up any more of my clothes. So just some final thoughts about my friend Amanda. After the 4 days, it was, we really became very close. As they say, she was the first Russian girl that I've ever had, the pleasure of spending that kind of time with. And they say you never forget your first. We're still friends to this day. I learned a lot about her and the Russian culture. Like one of the things is, just culturally they expect the guy to pay. You really have to kind of be, a stand-up guy and a gentleman. Russian girls really don't put up with a lot of nonsense in that area. Normally that's a kind of red flag for me, but I understand it's a cultural thing, so I was willing to overlook it. She was great. We may do a couple more trips going forward, possibly Rome, maybe Barcelona or something like that. But it was really fun, and I really enjoyed the time, and I believe she did as well. So I thought it was fun. I just wanted to share this experience with you guys, a little bit about meeting Russians and traveling a little bit. I will put some links in the description about who we booked with in the Airbnb, as well as the online travel service that I used to book her tickets as well as mine, and maybe some links also to some sites that I use to help find people in countries that I'm traveling to. So I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the story. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Maybe share some of your travel experiences, meeting expats, meeting foreigners away, and we could have some good discussions in the comments. So thanks again for watching, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.